Raise 10,000 now.
No?
10,000 to go.
Wesley wakes up with Anna Kournikova.
Said you don't remember anyways.
Oh boy.
Don't sweat his cards.
But for a moment.
Cooler alert. And look
Just
at
a
this.
call.
Mickey 3-bets and Keating traps. You see him do this sometimes. And Wesley with the mandatory 4-bet here to 50K with ace-king suited.
Does Mickey just want to get it in?
My friends will hate me so much if I do this.
Fold or call? What will they hate you for? I mean, Mickey.
And your friends will love you either way. The true friends.
That's true. Mickey with a pretty good hand here with King Jack, but when there's zero fold equity, Wesley, who's been playing as solid as anyone in the game tonight, puts in 50K. He's got to have a monster. Wesley's not doing this with 7-8 suited.
No, he's not. He
today.
just wants to get it in and triple up. That's what he's thinking right now.
And you got Keating behind to worry about as well.
He's drawing so thin.
Keating could just have you dead with King Queen or Ace Jack. Not necessarily the hand he has, but
No, he's a little better than that.
But certainly, if he's capable of flatting aces here, he's capable of flatting a lot of really good hands here. So Mickey's got to know he could be in trouble.
Let it go, Mick.
It's a pure gamble if he gets it in. He makes the good fold.
Okay.
That's discipline right there when you only got 50K left out of 400. I mean, Mickey's down 550K the last 2 days. Just a brutal run of cards, a lot of bad luck.
A lot of bad rivers.
And look at Keating. He's just going to put in the call. Trappy, 4-bet pot. Little does he know that if he shoves here, he might get a call from Wesley with Keating's image.
In this video for PokerNews.com, we're going to take a look at a crazy hand from Hustler Casino Live, where Wesley, who liquidates his opponents left and right, raises it up to $3,000 at 200, 400, 800 with ace, king of spades in the cutoff, over to Mickey and the small blind with only about 60,000 bucks. He 3-bets to 10,000. I think that is perfectly fine and perfectly viable. Over to Alan Keating in the third blind with an ace and an ace. He has it. He opts to just call. Tricky. Over to Wesley. He opts to put in the re-raise. Mickey, after much deliberation, folds a hand that's almost always going to be severely dominated in this situation. And then Alan elects to maximally slow play and just call. Before we even see the flop, I want to know, would you have played this spot differently in Alan's shoes? Would you have perhaps just put in the 4-bet initially? Would you have re-raised in this situation once Wesley makes it $50,000 with only $187,000 behind? Take a second, pause the video, and let me know what you would do and how you would play it in the comment section below. Before we get to the flop, I think I would have just 4-bet initially if I was in Alan's shoes, because I think that Mickey's probably going to put in his money most of the time, especially if Alan has been in there gambling kind of hard, as he very often does. I don't know the exact table dynamics in this game, but if you are known to be loose, aggressive, and battly, as Alan certainly is, I think you just want to be loose, aggressive, and battly when you have the aces. That said, when he does call the 10K and then Wesley re-raises, I definitely like calling at that point, because you want to do everything you can to keep your opponent in the pot when you're playing with a very shallow stack to pot ratio, unless for some reason you know Wesley just has aces, kings, queens, jacks, or ace king, in which case then you just want to shove. Now, I've played with Wesley plenty of times in tournaments, not cash games to be fair, and he gets in there and battles pretty hard too. He's very aware of his image. He knows that if he hasn't played a whole lot of hands recently, well, maybe he'll get a little bit out of line. So I certainly understand just calling the $40,000 more re-raise, because you really want to keep Wesley in with whatever he could possibly have. I think a lot of players make the mistake there of just ripping it in every time, and that's only good against tight, straightforward players who always have the effective nuts that will be unable to fold it. So, Keating does call. Let's go to the flop.
Although Wesley is capable of folding ace-king in this spot.
Both.
He's trying to keep Wesley's bluffs in. Let Wesley think he has the best hand
40?
here.
40.
That's working so far.
My coach bet 40,000.
Your coach?
My coach.
Quick
Really
call from Keating.
Flop comes Jack of Spades, 7 of Clubs, 4 of Hearts, which is not so great for Wesley. Keating checks. Wesley does go for a small continuation bet, though, which I think is perfectly fine and perfectly reasonable. Over to Keating, I think he should again just call. I mean, he wants to do everything he can to give Wesley the chance to bluff and or overvalue his hand. Again, if he somehow knows Wesley has an overpair or better at this point, or maybe like ace-jack or king-jack or better, then perhaps it does make sense just to go ahead and rip it in, because you really don't want a scary card to come that may make Wesley not pay you. Like, say Wesley does have a hand like ace-jack, and the turn's a king or a queen. Maybe he finds a way to not put all of his money in, and that would be a disaster. That said, this is a spot where I definitely think you want to call and keep him in with hands like ace-10 suited, ace-5 suited, king-queen offsuit, stuff like that that may have gotten a little bit splashy pre-flop, assuming he's capable of getting splashy pre-flop, which we know he is. So, Alan calls. Let's head on to the turn.
There's 190K in the pot, and Wesley only has 147 behind. What does he do here? If he checks, the story's over. I think Keating knows he has the best hand now.
Yo, Keating
Even
has
with
two
a
options here.
one-liner.
He has two options. He can check and get Wesley to bluff sometimes, or you can value bet, get called by worse pairs, and potentially fold if he gets shoved on. So he does exactly that. He bets 60, and what this does is he knows that Wesley's never shoving with a worse hand than aces here, right? Like, Wesley's not shoving with kings or queens on a 4-line board. Wesley's a good on a 3-flush board too. Wesley's a good player. He's not going to make that mistake.
The turn is the 9 of clubs, and it checks through, as expected. Wesley has nothing at this point. He does not need to blast it off. I think a lot of players make the mistake in this situation of just going for it. They realize they don't have a whole lot of bluffs in their range, therefore they're going to take whatever bluffs they have, including ace-king, and try to get their opponent to fold out something like top pair. But look, no one's folding top pair to Wesley, especially not Alan Keating. So Wesley does check it back. River's an 8 of clubs, and then Alan makes an interesting bet. He goes for 60,000, which is about 40% of Wesley's remaining chips. It's a cool spot because Wesley could just have some straights. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he showed me the ace-10 or king-10 that decided to get splashy pre-flop, maybe even pocket 10s. The thing is, though, is that if Alan bets and gets jammed, it's probably just a fold. It's an annoying fold, but it's probably just a fold. The fact that you do have the ace of clubs blocker may make you a little bit inclined to, well, I guess more inclined to fold, really, because even though you do block some flushes that will shove, you also block the logical bluff with the ace of clubs king or ace of clubs queen that may decide to run a bluff on the river. So it's an interesting spot. I think I would have probably just checked and checked called on the river to give Wesley every possible opportunity to bluff. But I'm going to trust Alan on this one. Alan is a world-class cash game player, at least in my opinion. Maybe not in the opinion of some of his opponents. And he does go for a 60,000 bet. Over to Wesley. Can Wesley make the fold, or does he decide to get insane? Let's see.
And Keating has the ace of clubs in his hand, so there's not a lot of bluffs for this little fold equity that Wesley can ever have in this spot. So he bets 60 to get value against all the worst pairs, the Jack X, the
If
queens,
Wesley
the kings.
did have a 10, don't you think he would have bet the turn? A 10 is hard to represent at this point.
No, not necessarily. I mean, he can definitely have pocket 10s, 10-9, random hand like ace-10 that he just doesn't want to bluff with anymore. So, no, there's definitely a lot of 10s that he plays this way and shoves river. So, if Keating is beat, Wesley will shove the river most likely. And then it just comes down to discipline. Keating knows at that point he's leaving himself room to fold, but it would just be a matter of being able to fold. However, Wesley does just have ace high here. I'm surprised he's thinking this long. Trying to figure out what bluffs could Keating have here. If he knew that Keating was capable of flatting a 4-bet with aces pre, then this should be a relatively easy fold.
There's no
mean, in order for Keating to be bluffing here, especially for this price, he has to have specifically a hand like ace-queen that is specifically trying to get ace-king to fold.
Yeah.
Okay. Doing.
And the good fold by Wesley once again.
Alan, can I see what you got?
Wesley brought his A game today.
Don't share. Don't share? Okay.
He has been
did.
as disciplined as anybody at the table.
Wesley decides to fold, as he should. This is a spot where it's very easy for Alan to have an effective nut hand that's just not going to fold. Now, if you do know somehow, some way that when Keating makes this weird 40% of your stack bet, that he is very often going to fold to a shove, well then shoving becomes really, really attractive. That said, I think it's going to be close to impossible to know that against a strong player like Keating. So Wesley lets it go. We move on. And, you know, after this hand, looking at it, Alan may be thinking, man, I should have just re-raised pre-flop, or I should have put in the re-raise pre-flop. And that probably would have stacked Wesley. So Wesley ends up saving $147,000 in this hand, even though he lost it. A penny saved is a penny earned, right? That's me for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do me a favor, click the like and subscribe button down below. I would appreciate that. Also, if you want to see another hand, played with pocket aces in a gigantic pot, we're going to put a link to that here as well. So you can go check that out right now. Good luck in your games. Have fun. And when you have aces, I hope you get maximum value. I'll talk to you next time.